Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, under our side, we're not going to require individuals to pass a political general knowledge in order to vote. We believe that voting is every right of every individual in this country, right? Because it's already regulated and it's already guaranteed by the 1945 Constitution, and it's the base on our country's foundation, right? So ladies and gentlemen, why under the government side of the House proposal it's bad for our country and for the implementation of democracy? Notice how their mechanism, there are so many holes in that mechanism, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, they say that if the test is failed, they can take another test for 3 or 5 years, for example. We believe that it's not going to be that effective, because because imagine if half Indonesian are failed, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a huge decreased number of the voters, right? And that is bad. That I'm going to explain later. And also, ladies and gentlemen, they never mention about how to ensure this distribution of education is going to work in the end of the day. How to make sure that every single one citizen in Indonesia will get the same education to prepare themselves for this kind of test, right? They never explained at the very beginning, because notice in Indonesia right now we are not achieved equality just yet. There are still remote areas, for example. There are still areas that cannot be achieved by this tax distribution, for example. So they need to answer this at the very beginning, right? So point to opposition. And also, ladies and gentlemen, notice how this spreading of awareness can still be done even under our side, ladies and gentlemen. Notice how the government is only told you about the benefit that we will get for if we apply in this test. Of course, this benefit is going to work if only those mechanism is working at the very first place, right? But in the current status quo, we believe that those mechanisms mentioned by the government side of the House is not going to be achieved, because it's not comparable with what happened in the current status quo. Remember what I told you, that we still have remote areas, right? This is the biggest step back or challenge for Indonesian government to actually distribute the test and the knowledge on political knowledge equally to every single citizen in this country, which we are not able to overcome just yet. So we believe that mechanism is going to fail in the end of the day. So ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the arguments, right? First argument, why it's not justified. First, the right of vote, right? Even the government of the House telling you that it's okay to take the rights of certain citizen if it's going to harming others. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a parallel example from driver's license test or SIM, like what the government has mentioned to you earlier. They say that this SIM test is to prevent people to harm others, right? But in the real life, there are still a lot of violation of rules, trespassing traffic lights, for example, that could cause an accident in lalu lintas, for example. So therefore, this test is not necessarily helpful in preventing people to harm others, and it could be applied in this political test itself, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that this test is not enough to not effective enough to prevent what the government side of the House concern is about. But rather, under our side, we believe that the implementation of this test is going to be harmful for Indonesian index of democracy, because basically Indonesia is a democratic country, that voting, the right of vote, is the principle of democracy in our country, ladies and gentlemen. So therefore, when you take that right out from the citizen, it could decrease the index of democracy in our country, and it is very bad. Why is that so? Because like what I told you earlier, Indonesia is a democratic country, and if the index of democracy in our country is decreasing badly, it's going to impact the Indonesian image in the international world, ladies and gentlemen. Because at the current status quo, Indonesia's image is already bad, because we are seen as violating human rights, for example. Another case of example is in Papua. There are so many human rights violation, for example. So therefore, it's bad enough for Indonesia's image in international world. Not to mention if we implying this motion, which is going to impacting incredibly bad in our democratic index. And also, ladies and gentlemen, the right of vote is also incredibly important, and under the government side of the house scenario, it's not going to be achieved equally, because we know the distribution of knowledge and the distribution of tests is not equal in every single area in this country. And this is the government side of the house burden of proof to prove to us how the government could actually distribute these tests and knowledge equally, which they don't explain that at the very beginning of this of their speech, right? Second argument, why is it harmful for the implementation of democracy, ladies and gentlemen? Because practically, Indonesia's characterization of society is that they are lazy to be educated, right? So we believe that when this test is implemented, the number of voters will be drastically decreased, ladies and gentlemen, because this mechanism is not effective enough. Let's compare it to the current status quo, right? There is no test in our current status quo, and it's still hard to persuade people to participate in voting. There are still a huge number of golput, for example. So while they already know the importance of voting, they still don't vote anyway. So we believe that this complication of procedure is going to be menghambat the increase in the number of voters. By applying this test, means more procedure will be done, right? So people will be lazy to vote because of the complication of the procedure, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to impacting the decreasation of numbers of voters, right? And even though in our current status quo there is still awareness spread already done by the government, ladies and gentlemen, in so many ways. For example, when we are in high school, we got the lesson that voting is important and so on and so forth, but people still not voting anyway. And other than that, we are also already implementing the campaign in social media, for example, by collaborating with influencer, for example. But it is still proven that Indonesia society is actually really lazy, even in big cities, ladies and gentlemen, because the number of golput is still huge in this current status quo, right? So we believe that the complication of the procedure in this test will going to impacting the implementation of democracy itself, and it is very, very, very bad. And also, ladies and gentlemen, notice how the government side of the house proposal is actually too visionary, and it's too idealistic, and it's not realistic. Why is that so? Because looking at the current status quo, we cannot still achieve the goal that the government set at the very first place, right? So if it works, it's good. But if it fails, it's not good. But it's going to be boomerang for our democratic implementation. Therefore, we proud to oppose.